Welcome to the Pitmaster Podcast. We're barbecue competition competitors that aim to share information, advice, tips, and tall tales about our favorite pastime. Head over to thepitmasterpodcast.com for all things Pitmasters, or follow us on your favorite social media platform.
We won the Open in '98, and that was with 400 teams.
The thing is, when people tell me, hey, I did your recipe, and my family thinks I'm amazing now.
Right? Everything barbecue is we are arguing, and Jerry spring up is like, I'm not going to her door, and I say, Sue, got some barbecue for you. And she say, thank you, Tuffy. And it just kept going, and then as time got further along, started winning and doing real well, and I developed a lot of rubs and seasonings, and it snowballed from there.
Damon had this ridiculous sense of being able to look at a rub and he can name it. I'll never forget, so he looks there and he goes, hey man, I see what you're doing over there. Why, I got that Sunburn Docks and Plowboy's bottle. And I was like, are you kidding me?
Here are the hosts of the Pitmaster Podcast, Rusty Monson, head pitmaster of Salt City Barbecue, and the two-time grand champion pitmaster of Smoke Ain't No Joke Barbecue, the Anthony Luan.
All right, everybody, we got John Lindsey. He's the pitmaster of all Queued Up competition team. He's out of Jonesboro, Arkansas. He was a 2018 State Cookoff Newcomer of the Year, and he also finished 4th overall national points chasing. That was last year, I believe, right, John?
That was in 18 and 2018. In 2019, I was the points champion runner for the year.
Yeah, so in your short amount of time, you've really done a lot of damage. 58% of the time, you're in the top 10. Quite a resume for your SCA, but let's get to know you. Tell us about yourself. Who's John Lindsey? Where you come from? Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm from a little town called Harrisburg, Arkansas. I guess you can tell from the accent that I'm from the South. I'm not from your parts up there, but I'm friendly, I promise you. But anyway, I'm from Harrisburg. We're in a little area here close to Jonesboro. It's northeast Arkansas. And so I grew up here. Didn't grow up cooking, outdoor cooking. I was always fascinated by it. You know, I talked to a lot of guys and their dads or whatever was barbecue people. My dad wasn't a barbecue guy. I've got fond memories, though, of him going to Walmart and buying a grill and trying to get the charcoal started with a hairdryer out in the front yard. Never did really work out for us, but my grandma taught me how to cook. And so I've always had a passion for cooking. Got 12, 13 years old, somebody bragged on my cooking, and it just kind of gelled. And I started wanting to do it more and more. And so it's been a passion my whole life. Got in 2008 or 9, started watching barbecue pitmasters on TV, probably like you guys did and some of the others. You know, I mean, I was fascinated by that. And I'd already got to that area that I wasn't going to be a basketball star. I wasn't good enough at golf to do any good there. Wasn't a great football player, but I thought I might be able to do competitive barbecue cooking and outdoor grilling. So I got started with that and cooked my first KCBS contest somewhere around 2015, actually. And so I'm not, we're looking at 5 years that I've been in this thing competitively all the way around. Took Brad Leiniger and Tim Shear's class multiple times. Took Travis Clark's class. The last year in KCBS competitions, we did great. We was just right there of getting over the edge. I think the last year we cooked 12 competitions. We were in the top 10, 11 out of the 12 times in brisket that year. We were doing really, really good. But we got bit by that old steak cooking bug with the SCA. We happened to go down to Whitehall, Arkansas, and do a combination barbecue and steak competition. We wasn't really thinking a whole lot about the steak, but here's the deal with that competition. That was the last competition and the last qualifier of 2017 to try to get you to qualify for the World Championship. So all the big heavy hitters were there. I didn't know any of them because I wasn't a part of the steak cooking community at that time. But there were people out of Texas, and out of Florida, and out of Mississippi, and Alabama, all over the place. But when we turned in, we really thought we had great chicken and great ribs and great stuff in the barbecue side. We didn't do very well in the barbecue side that year, but we won the state cook-off about 50 teams. And so that was hook, line, and sinker right there. And so we hadn't looked back. 2018 we started, cooked, I believe, in 18 we cooked 38 competitions, made a run for the points champion and finished 4th place, top 5 in the United States in points. Then in 2019, we did 60 competitions, and so was points champion runner-up. Now, the guy that beat me, which is Matt Overson, hats off to Matt. He's a great points champion, but he cooked 86 contests. I cooked 60. I just can't hop on airplanes and fly out and do all that stuff. I'm not going to chase it that way. I just can't do it. But for what we did, I know Terry Rohn was right behind me. He was 3rd place, I believe, and he had almost 80 contests. So we felt good for where we finished for what we did. We had a good average number of points per contest. We're very consistent. And so that's a little of my background and how I got to the point that brought us up into this year with where we're at.
Nice. Rusty and I are in a points chase, but we only have 5 competitions that we're in a point chase with. So nothing on that level. With that point chase, I actually have a question kind of outside of this. How would you feel if the SCA said, okay, we're only going to let you submit your top 25 for a point chase? Would that kind of level it out just so people like myself, I can't make that many comps, Rusty, he could probably do it if he wanted to, but that's still getting up to 60 competitions. That is a lot of cooking.
Fellas, let's be honest about it. It breaks your heart to cook 60 competitions and have the average number of points that I had and not win the championship, not get the ring. It's, if somebody, cooks 26 or 30 more competitions than you, they're going to have a good run of it for sure. Not taking anything away from Matt Overson. He's a great champion and a very great cook and a wonderful guy. But this thing isn't the Road Warrior ring. It's the points champion. And I don't know what the answer is, to make the long story short. There needs to be some sort of modifications. I've talked with Brett and Ken about this, more Brett than anybody else. And he has kind of mentioned that they're going to be making some regional modifications or something along those lines. We haven't seen those yet. About the time they got ready to probably try to do something, we had COVID-19 that came out and all the stuff that's going on. But I'm with you. There needs to be something to level that playing field where we're working on folks that a points champion is wonderful. I believe when you're a points champion, it shows consistency. It shows you can go anywhere, anytime, under any circumstance and be able to come out on top. I think that's a real champion in my book. When you talk about the world champion versus the points champion, they're two different animals. The world champion, and I'm definitely not taking away from a world champion, but you can have a great day and a lot of luck and wind up winning a contest anytime you go. But to do it day in, day out, every day, every weekend, that's consistency, and that's what that shows. So I'm with you. I think there needs to be something there, but I've still not figured out exactly what yet myself.
Right. And the SCA it's still a baby, it's learning how to walk right now. So that's what's cool about it.
Well, and I love SCA. I know it's not perfect because it's ran by humans, just like all of us here. But here's it in a nutshell. I know Brett and Ken enough to know they try to do the right things every time out, and they're fair. And I've never went anywhere in an SCA competition what I didn't feel like I got a 100% fair shake every time. And you can't say that about many organizations. So my hat's off to SCA.
Yeah, they do a really good job, and they are very open to changing things. I have noticed that a lot.
They are, yes.
And I think it's a great offer. I think it's a great idea, the 25, or 30 even, because I can, count it up. I could probably do 25 pretty easily, you know, and at least give myself a shot. But, but even with KCBS, you know, you talk about Brad, I took his class too, and that was a great class. But they're doing 50 something contests, you know, whatever. And I got to beat him in brisket once, and that's the, you know, but you know, like that is what it is, but it's the same kind of thing in KCBS, but SCA, I think that's a great idea. Something to look into for sure.
Something to look into, you know, I'm thinking about, you know, I think we're going to see regional things come down the pipe where this thing is going to have to go regional somewhere down the line. I've talked to several people, man, I would love to have a bracket like you have a college basketball
NCAA
bracket.
or something.
Yeah, NCAA. And you put some grill masters head to head. I would enjoy going head to head against Terry Roan. I would enjoy going against Johnny Joseph in blind judging. I don't want to go against anybody in open judging, but I want them, when they look at me, I want them to look at John Lindsey's steak, not at Johnny Joseph or Terry Roan versus John Lindsey. I want to see the blind judging, put my steak against theirs any day of the week. They may beat me, but I'd love that opportunity. And I know a lot of other people that would love to have that. It'd be so fun. Of course, all those guys are wonderful cooks and great competitors. And, but that head to head, I know they're doing some of that. And I'd like to get in on that if I could.
Right. Well, that's what's really cool about the SCA is that you can actually develop some cool stuff like you're talking about. Like when you're bringing that up, I was like, how cool would it be to be like almost like baseball? You have your regionals, you know, you have your 4 different regions or whatever, and you cook off to there and just work your way up to worlds. But then you take the top 5 cooks out of each country and then have a real world's championship, almost like the World Baseball Classic, do it once every 4 years. And you have your top 5 cooks versus the other 5 cooks. It would just be amazing to do because SCA is so simple. It's a one-day cook. It's not like a KCBS where you need to bring a bunch of smokers and trailers and plan on sleeping. You just show up, cook, and go home in 8 hours.
Well, have you guys ever qualified for a world champion or been to the SCA World Championship?
Not yet.
I'll give you a little bit of a rundown. I've been to 3 of them. And the first time, you can't hold that one against me because, man, my eyes were so big. I mean, everything is big there. When they put one of these things on, the stage show and everything on the party the night before where they do the awards and all that is unreal. It's just like walking the stage of the Grammys or something. I mean, it just makes you feel like $1 million to be able to get up there and do that. And so when me and John Walter went the first year, we just looked and we were watching people and we didn't think we'd ever get to walk that stage ourselves and be up there like that. Then next year, by George, we were there and got to walk it twice. And then the next year in 2019, John Walter was the wingman of the year. And we were the points champion runner-up, so we got to be up there with all the. It's a wonderful feeling. So what I'm saying is, it's big. They do a great job. Now, when you're going against 3, I think you'll have to correct me. As many as I've cooked and as many as we've been to, sometimes we forget numbers, but you know there were 300 plus teams there last year. I think right in that range, 300 teams. Man, I'm going to tell you something. That is a phenomenal there's a lot of folks. You get 300 teams. It's hard to pick a real world champion out of 300 teams. I mean, to me, a world champion, and I don't know any other way to do it, but we're talking tonight, so I'm just going to put, and I've never put this out in any other show, so you're getting it here first nice. On the Pitmasters podcast. But if you're going to put a world champion out there, take the top 10 in the world, take the top 25 in the world, put them together and pick you a world. Let them battle it out to be a world champion cook. Even though those top 25 in the world were at that championship, you had 275 other people that maybe have gotten in on points or whatever, and that's wonderful. If you call it, that's the qualifications to get there. That's wonderful. But at the end of the day, I think to have what you call a full-blown world champion, you need to pit the very best against the very best head-to-head somewhere down the line. And when that happens, you've got a world champion. And it's like Terry Roan said, Rusty, you were on our podcast last night, Facebook Live, and we appreciate you tuning in. Arcasipi Smoke Live, but we had Terry Roan on there, 2018 world champion, and he said it better than anybody. He said, if you go to a world championship and win it, you've got to have the right steak that day. You've got to get lucky to get the right steak. You've got to get lucky to get on the right table of judges, and you've got to cook the very best steak you've ever had in your life. And so there's so many gates that you have to go through to get it. There's a lot of, it's just like Terry Roan, world champion, said, a lot of luck involved in it when you got that many teams going against each other. So I don't know the answers at long and short. I've got my opinions. I've probably already said too much.
Oh, no.
I love
This
the
is
organization the way it is. I totally back Brett and Ken. They're doing the very best they can. It's organized better than anything else out there. Would there be some little things we would change? Well, sure. On anything, there's some things on my rubs that I would change right now, and some things that I do. But I love SCA, and you never have to wonder where I stand with these guys. It's a wonderful organization.
Yeah, the Tailgate Guys podcast, which is a great podcast, by the way, if you guys haven't heard it, and you're on it, so go listen to John's episode. They did a bracket challenge with KCBS, and I thought it was super cool, where they took regionals, and they fought with each other. It was virtual. It was more like a popularity contest than anything, but it was still really cool, to see, and that's something that can work in SCA. And I think it would be super. And you're right, like to beat 300 people. But then again, Terry did win 8 championships in a year, So
well, here's the thing about Terry Roan, and we've had several. Darian Khosrabi, Cosmos Q is a world champion. A lot of people don't realize he's an SCA world champion. Eric Hodson from Boars Night Out, SCA world champion. Robbie Staggs, this year's world champion. Roland Escobedo, world champion. Terry Roan. And all of those guys are excellent. To go down there and do what they did and beat all those people, my hat 100% is off to you guys. I love every one of them. They're all friends of mine. I don't know Cosmo as well as the others, but all of those guys, my hat's off. Here's it in a nutshell, though. When you go down and you do that and you go against that many people, they had to have lots and lots of luck on their side to get that job done. They could have won anyway, and probably would have, because they're great cooks. But there has to be some luck factor in there when you throw that many wild cards. Because when the first year I went, folks, I'm telling you, now I'd won a first place steak, but I didn't deserve to be at that championship. I'll be the first one to tell you, I qualified, but I wasn't a steak cook. That first year that I went and won in Whitehall, Arkansas, it was a week before the championship. I just barely gotten my feet wet, but my steak was out there side by side of everybody else's at the judging tables and all that. And I was probably just clouding the water, so to speak, but I was sure glad to be there and be a part of it. But with Terry Roan won 8 first place wins in 2018. He had 8 first places. He had 3 of them I know of back to back. He had been in the top 10 in points. He finished that year. He won the world championship and finished in the top 5 in points the year after. To me, that is all that you need to say. That guy's deserving of that championship. And so these guys that have won that world championship and have that designation, my hat's off to every one of them. Could it be a little different in a little bit different ways? I'm sure it could. But I like the head-to-head thing. I'm not saying to necessarily pick a world champion that way, but get some brackets, put some people head-to-head. Let that be a little offshoot of the SCA, a little bit different type of contest that you have going on. Man, people will eat that up. I guarantee you they'll love it and they'll enjoy that type of contest.
I would love it. Sure. I think it would be great. It would be fun.
Well, Rusty being a poker player, you seen the World Series of Poker, they had head-to-head tournaments, and that's was awesome to watch.
Yeah, I loved it.
Mm-hmm. That was awesome. Rusty and I cooked head-to-head, and it turned into a draw. So,
well, I think I just hurt my eyes rolling them so hard.
Yeah, no, Rusty proved his point this weekend, and so I was ready to go on that.
Hey, you win some and you lose some.
You can't win all of them.
Can't win all of them.
So talk a little bit about SEA. What do you think that draws it to people? Because it is getting large. I mean, just in Utah, we went from 15 cooks to 25 on and on up, and it just gets bigger each time. What is drawing people to SEA? Evan?
Well, I'm just going to be honest with you. When SEA started, one of the things that drew lots of folks was they were telling everyone, hey, bring a cooler, a folding chair, a table, and a grill, your charcoal. You don't have to bring anything. Of course, now we all got steak trailers. It's evolved just like, I've got a steak trailer out here. It's evolved like everything else. But what I like about SCA is just this. When I was cooking KCBS and barbecue competitions, when I'd get in from work 3 and 4 nights a week, I was prepping meat. I mean, I'm doing chicken one night. I'm doing pork butt one night. I'm trimming a brisket. Take me an hour to trim a brisket like I want to. Let's don't even talk about chicken. 18 chicken thighs takes you forever the way I did it. And so you're wore out, you're tired before you even start. And before you pull out of your driveway, you've got $1,000 by the time you bought your meat, paid your entry fees, and calculated your gas mileage and all that in. So you factor all that in. And I believe with the low entry fees that SCA has been able to keep out there, the simplicity of being able to join up and be a part of that organization, I think that's been a hit with families. I always say it this way. SCA believes in some of the same things that makes our country great, which is faith, family, and freedom. I talk about that. I've been asked to talk about SCA. I guess people think maybe I work for it. I don't work for SCA. All I'm a member in good standing, but I love to talk about it because it's a passion. It's the organization of choice that I believe in, that we've chosen to use our sphere of influence to help other people, to be able to have a camaraderie and a fraternity and a fellowship. And so, yes, I think that's some of the draws to SCA, not only the monetary things, but the ease of being able to go cook. And, Rusty, and, I don't know exactly how many contests you guys have cooked, but I will tell you this. You've probably been to one where you saw the first time cooks win these things. I've been to so many where the first time cooks can go out there and cook against a Johnny Joseph, a Terry Rohn, a John Lindsey, Roland Escobedo, and they can beat us. And when they do, my hat's off to them. I'll go by and hug their neck and shake their hand and try to encourage them to keep cooking, because that's what this thing's all about. But that's my take on it. I just think it's an easier, and also it don't take you long to realize when I was cooking barbecue, everybody was, and I'm not saying it's this way everywhere, but everybody was just kind of tightened up. You go around to somebody's trailer and they really didn't have time to talk to you. SCA, it's not that way. It's an SCA family. It really is. And now, when you're right in the middle, in the thick of trimming your steaks and doing all that stuff, it may get a little hectic, but you've got some time to visit and have some camaraderie out there. I think it makes all the difference in the world. The organization is just like unlike anything I've ever been a part of.
Right, I agree. And then also what I like about it too is it's so much easier. Like this weekend, my son cooked his first solo cook completely by himself. Right. Mm-hmm. And it was so easy for him to be able to grasp on to cooking a steak versus, hey, let's break down a brisket, and KCBS cook. It's extremely difficult, which the ACA was very easy for my 14-year-old boy to grasp onto and cook by himself. His mom gave him a hand here and there with some stuff, but he literally cooked the whole thing by himself. And he only had maybe 3 or 4 practices under his belt, and he was able to compete. And that's what I love about it. His entry fee, my entry fee, traveling, I barely got to my meat category for KCBS, paid for my meat. Mm-hmm. So,
by the time you buy $230 brisket or whatever, I mean, you're pretty much shot anyway. So for the barbecue part of it, but I'm with you. Yeah.
So let's say that, you're in the steak cook-off and, you're not doing so well, or maybe it's your first time. What are some tips you can give to people to get better at SEA? I hear a lot of people at KCBS and, like Tuffy Stone, all those guys tell us like, it's tenderness. It's a tenderness cook, and everyone kind of has that same thing for KCBS. What is it for SEA? Is it the same thing? What do you think that is really pushes people over the edge?
Well, Rusty, I'm going to be 100% honest with you, and it's not because I do this, but this is it in a nutshell. If you're planning on starting SCA, plan on starting your SCA journey a week later. Spend the money that you're going to go to the first contest on and take a class. And we talk about flattening the COVID curve. Everybody's talking about flatten your learning curve immensely. Take one of the classes. I'm not saying it just because I've got classes out there, but that will help a new cook to kind of know what to expect. And there are some classes out there. I've got some, others have. We'll mention that later. But what I'm getting at is that helps you, number one, because the thing about this SCA cooking is more about technique than it is about a rub, than it is about anything else. It's more about the technique of cooking this steak. When a judge gets a hold of a steak, they get a bite that is just about the size of the end of your thumb if they're judging correctly. It's only just a half ounce or whatever. It's just a very minute piece off the end of the steak of your choosing, whichever way you lay it in the box. And when they take that, they cut it with a plastic knife and a fork, plastic fork and plastic knife. And they take one bite. That one bite has to be the best. It don't have to be the best bite they've took all day long, because they're not comparing my steak against yours, Anthony or Rusty. We may have three steaks there, and as it just goes down the line, it's not comparative judging. Each steak stands on its own merit, and they judge it on those 5 categories of appearance. Does it look good? Taste, does it taste good to you? Of course, you want a good balanced flavor. To me, taste is the key of the whole thing. A lot of people want to put too much salt on a steak, but I found out, you want the best average steak you can turn in, just like you want the best average barbecue you can turn in that wins contests. Honest to goodness. But you're judged on the appearance and the tenderness, or I say tenderness, texture. You've got your texture scores, you got your doneness scores, and then you have an overall impression score. And so each one of those scores means something. Probably the one that is the one that will make you pull your hair out would be the overall impression score, because lots of folks think that's an average of your other ones, and it's not. The overall impression score is after you've done everything else. You may have had an aftertaste on the steak. You may have it may have had too much heat and you didn't get it while you were writing your taste score down. That overall impression is there that you can come back and say, hey, how did this thing finish? How was this overall part of the steak? So you've got all of those criteria. The overall impression, it's going to be kind of what it is, but my goal is, number one, I want to control the things that I can control. Number one, I can control what steak looks like. Now, I've turned one in, by George, a few times, and I would have argued with them, because I looked at the steak when I turned it in the box, and I knew what it looked like on the outside. And to turn a steak in that you think is almost perfect, and to get a 46 or 47 on it, it'll just break your heart. Here's the thing. The judge only sees the steak after it's cut in half. They're only judging on half of that steak, the back or the top half of that steak. So the judge never sees it. The cutter gets it, he cuts it, then it goes down the judging table, and they judge it on appearance first, and then it comes back around, they judge it on the other criteria. So what I'm getting at is this: they never see it whole. They only look at it half. So things can change when you cut it in half. So you have to give them that kind of leeway. But but hitting your flavor profiles, getting you a good balanced flavor, and you can do that with a number of rubs. To me, that's one of the best things you can do. Get a steak trimmed up good. You don't have to trim it like a hamburger patty, like a lot of them do. You don't have to trim all the fat out of it, but just trim it up and make it look appetizing. Put you some good grill marks on there. Don't get them too dark. Don't get them too light, but have them just right, and control the things that you can control.
Cool. So talking about control of taste and flavor by your rubs and stuff like that, as you traveled throughout the United States, are you tweaking your recipe to their palates? Are you cooking with the same recipe? What are you seeing as you travel? Just on the rub side.
I was in 8 states last year, and 9 states in 2018. So by doing that, you get a pretty good little, bit of. You can kind of figure out kind of what's going on in some of these areas. I've heard people that change charcoal, they change woods, they change rubs, they change, all kinds of stuff. The only place that I can tell where there's any difference in what I do is when you get over in the upper part of Illinois. Maybe that's about as far north as I go, and they like a little bit more of a bland steak in that area. Of course, last year at the 17th Street, praise the Lord, Cookoff there with Mike and Amy Mills. I've cooked that contest twice, and last year I got a second place there. Went down the very next day, drove all the way from Illinois to Corinth, Mississippi, cooked the next day and got a first place in Corinth using the exact same recipe. So I guess I could tell you most every place I've cooked in Texas and won. I've cooked in Texas and got my butt kicked, but it was with the exact same flavor profile. Last year, don't know if you guys heard about the first ever quad contest that Papaw Joe's put on out there. It was the first SCA quad. So what they did, they had 4 contests. You cooked all 4, and then they took the highest number of points and awarded a grand champion. Well, that belt buckle is back here behind me somewhere. We won the grand down there that year, cooking the very same steak in the heart of Texas that we cooked in Illinois to win that second place. So I guess what I'm saying is we don't change. I use the same kind of wood in Texas. I don't go to mesquite in Texas. I use the same chunk of apple wood that I put on the steak here. I put the same chunk of apple wood on in Texas. It never changes. It's the same exact profile every time.
Nice. And so for the new backyard guy who's thinking about, sorry.
No, it's okay. We broke up there a little bit. What I was just going to say is, do I think some flavor profiles are different? I think they are minutely, but it's kind of like Darren Worth. I heard him say years ago, and it's always stuck with me in the back of my mind. Good food is good food. It don't matter if you're in Harrisburg, Arkansas, or if you're in Chicago, Illinois. It's most of the time it's good. I don't do a whole lot of changing.
I used to live in New Orleans, and so I came from Utah to New Orleans, and you think, well, everyone down there likes Cajun food, right? But I found out sooner than, really soon that down in New Orleans, I'm like, raise your hand if you're actually from here, and nobody could, they're like, right. They're not from New Orleans. No one that's from New Orleans is in New Orleans, except for in your outskirts, So, I mean, a lot of people are from everywhere you go, even here, the judges, they're not born and raised in Utah. They're not born and raised in Texas, so some of them are, but you never know. You never know where you're going to hit. So I agree with you.
So with the backyard guy who's been kicking the can around, thinking about jumping into an SCA competition, what would you help, not giving too much information out there, we want to keep our secrets in our pocket, but where would you tell a guy to start off? Salt, garlic, pepper, and then build from there? How would you tell a guy how to start off in the SCA on seasoning, at least, just a baseline for him to build the foundation?
Well, first thing I do is tell him to go find a bottle of all queued up steak shake and and get it on the steak. But let's say you can't get all queued up steak shake where he's at. A good basic salt, pepper, garlic, and onion rub with a little cayenne pepper will go a long way. You take your ratios, start with a tablespoon each, and then get your ratios till you get a balanced flavor, and then add the heat at the end and get the heat that you like. And it needs to be, if you're tasting it out of the bowl, you want it a little hotter to the palate there, because it'll always even out when you put it on a piece of meat. And then if you want to try to get a good all the way around base rub, put you some paprika in it, and you've got a red rub that turns your steak red and gives it a great color. So if you're a new cook starting out, and I think I know where you're going with this, the thing that you want to do above all, now you go taste a lot of these rubs out of the bottle, and everybody will gravitate to the sweetest rub first. I promise you. They'll take the sweetest rub and taste it and say, man, that is wonderful. But you may have a great rub like a Johnny Joseph rub, or like Cosmos cow cover, or my all queued up big red beef, and taste it out of the bottle. It's not going to, it's not going to be that sweet. Tasting it out of the bottle is going to be different. But you can't really judge one until you put it on a piece of meat. So whether you're cooking a hamburger with it, cut up a piece of sirloin, whatever you do to try those different rubs out, put them on evenly in consistency and get you a good balanced flavor profile. You want it balanced. When you taste, let's say my steak shake, for instance, let's say this, it's when you taste it, there's nothing that stands out in that rub. It might be a little extra garlic. You might get that right off the front end of it, but it evens out. It was created to be the most balanced rub on the market. So when you taste it, it's going to be a lot of flavor, but nothing will overpower you. That's what I want the judge to get in their mouth, whatever I have to mix up or whatever I have to do. And then also, I know you were talking just on taste there. You mentioned taste, but if I was going to suggest to a newcomer kind of what to start, I've seen them cooking in iron skillets out there. I've seen them cooking all kinds of stuff. If you're going to really get out there and go, now keep in mind, the rules say you can cook on an iron skillet, but you're not really going to do. I've seen people win in place cooking on one. They're few and far between. Give yourself the very best odds. Get you a set of Brad Barrett's grill grates. You need a set of those grill grates and learn how to use them. And it don't matter if you're cooking on a Weber or a PK or a Walmart grill or whatever you're cooking on. Figure out how to manage the fire on that thing and get those grill grates where you want them, and learn the grill grates, because that is the most underrated grilling tool that you can get, is a set of grill grates. Get you a good instant read thermometer, which I think Thermopin is the best. And you learn how to use that thermometer and learn what temperature you need to take that steak off and how long you need to get it to rest before you get it turned in and to get the color you want on the inside of that steak. That just takes practice. But if you keep a good balanced flavor and you can learn how to hit your marks, you'll be a long way ahead of another newcomer that's just starting when you go out to your first competition.
I like the way what Terry said yesterday on your show. Was a lot of people get up and win and they say, there's charcoal, and they mention all this stuff. Nobody mentions grill grates, It's like grill grates is what got you there. None of that's going to matter if you don't have the grill grate. So.
I really believe I could take a trash can and put a set of grill grates on it and produce a steak that could win a competition. And I could take any kind of charcoal in the world. Now, we use the Kingsford Professional, and we've been using that a while. They sponsor us through the Big Extreme Grilling team, and we like the charcoal. But I believe I could take any charcoal in any grill, as long as you've got a set of grill grates. I think you could put it on a trash can and turn out a steak that you could win with. And I believe that. I swear by the grill grates. It just evens out the cook, and it's got good grill marks. It just does a lot of things for the cooking aspect.
And it's specifically grill grates. I mean, I had a friend that was next to us at this last competition on Saturday, and he got grill grates in air quotes. They weren't grill grates, and he was trying to cook off his practice steak. And I got in the habit of, I have a whole set, right, of grill grates, and I only use half. So my practice steak, I'll use one, take it off, and replace it with the other, so I have a clean surface. I learned that from somebody. I don't know who. I think it was you. So not that particular, but having a clean surface. And
Yes.
so I gave him the second one we used for the practice. Like, here, you have this. He's like, oh my gosh. And everything. It was just like a whole new world for him. But that is some must haves. I agree with you 100%. I want to know about, now this is something that's new and here anyway, steak trailers. What goes in it? It has to be a 10 by 10 or a 10 foot, right? How does that work? What's a
10 by 15?
10 by 15 foot. I have a 14-foot trailer that's 14 feet long, and it's 7 foot wide by 14 foot long. And of course, I've got my prep table in there, and I've got, my air conditioner. And when I go out in Texas, I got to have an air conditioner. And then you've got all the stuff right there at your fingertips. It's where you've got everything exactly where you need it, just like your barbecue cooking trailer. And it's just a small version of a barbecue trailer. And we've got it. I'm actually probably going to downsize from what I've got. I've got a 14 foot, but I'm going to tell you, pulling that trailer, the amount on the road as we are every contest, it gets expensive pulling that trailer with the gas mileage you get pulling that thing. Where a smaller trailer will probably work into your favor. I don't know how small I'm going to want to go, but I'm probably going to go a little bit smaller than what I've got. But I've had this trailer 2 years. I love it. It's been at all kinds of competitions, and every competition I've been to, I probably cooked 2 competitions the last 2 years without that trailer. So you just get used to it. But does it have a porch on it, or is it just a trailer you walk out of and it has like a shade canopy you can pull out? Well, I put a tent up right next to it. So I put a tent up. Lots of folks like William Mann down in Winfield, Alabama, he's got a super nice looking trailer. He's got the canopy that he pulls out just like an awning on an RV. So he don't even have to put the tent up. And we keep them hooked up to the trucks when we need to. And we just go in there and load the grills in and out, and then back in, and then we're ready to go. Put it in and roll with it. It's pretty neat.
But for you new cooks, you do not need a trailer. A 10 by 10 is where it's
I'm going to get one, and I want to know, because that's my next step is getting a cook trailer. So I have to know.
But if you are going to travel, one of your, the 5x8 enclosed is where it's at. You don't want to be stopping at a hotel and come out and your grills are gone. So enclosed trailer is definitely a good starting point for traveling.
It is.
Cool. So what about ancillaries? Are you a big ancillary guy?
It's kind of funny you say that. Last year, we were the only team to be ranked in the top 10 in ancillary points and steak points. So we finished number 2 in the nation in steak and number 4 in the nation in ancillary. So I like cooking ancillaries if I possibly can. A lot of times since John Walter, which he's my right hand, he was my helper, and then he started cooking and started winning. And so he's actually ranked number 6 in the nation right now on his own. So it gets a little hectic with me and him both cooking. Even though he's, we've got our steaks sitting there side by side. He's trimming his, I'm trimming mine. By the time I wait on him to finish his steak trim, he's a little slower than I am at the trimming aspect of it still yet. He's a little more meticulous, to be quite honest with you, but it just takes a little bit more time. So we don't get to do as much ancillary categories as we used to. Now I am cooking wings down in Laurel, Mississippi next weekend, or the 23rd. I won chicken 3 or 4 times last year, and that's where I owe that 4th place in the ancillaries to, is that chicken. I did good in a few of the other categories, but chicken wings and ribs kind of pulled me through when they had those categories out there. So, but there's some ladies out there, Tona Pendre and Judy Jones. And there's 2 or 3 of them. I knew when I mentioned one, I'd probably leave some of them out. Crystal Ford is another one. But they're just absolutely beasts when it comes to ancillaries. This past weekend, Miss Pendray was down in Glencoe, Alabama, where we cooked. And she cooked 3 entries. You can cook multiple entries in the ancillaries. She won first, second, and third. So, I mean, you just can't hardly beat them. It's crazy. Awesome. But I love the ancillary categories. They're fun. You know, if you have time to cook them, they're fun.
But those ancillaries, man, they have my mind jogging. Like we're Rusty, 30 days out from the dessert ancillary and our next cook. And I've came up with like 37 just ideas in this podcast on what to cook.
I know exactly what I'm cooking. I knew that one right away. But
like this past weekend, I had anything on a stick. But I love the chicken wing categories. I'm not a real chefy kind of guy. I'm getting better than I used to be. I've been watching BBQ on Facebook Live, and I'm going to tell you something. That lady can cook. I mean, she is a cook and a half on anything she goes to do. But I've been watching her, so I'm getting a little more chefy, picking up some tips from some of these folks, Sterling Smith and some of the stuff that he does. So I'm trying to get a little bit better. I'm going to hit some ancillaries this year.
Man, Diva Q gave Rusty and I the best tip off mic, which we can't talk about.
Made his promise.
We made his promise, but she is a genius when she told us this.
Yeah, it was great. Well, thanks for bringing it up. Now everyone's going to know. We'll get all these emails what was it?
No, but it's just watch what she cooks. Mm-hmm. She's cooked what she's told us on her videos. So to just follow Diva, because she'll guide you through an ancillary cook all day.
You know, there's no nicer person in this business than Danielle. She has just been a phenomenal. I watched her on TV all those years, and I finally met her at the shed. We got to be really good friends. She sent me a cookbook not long ago, and every recipe in that dang thing is unreal. It's one of the best ones that I've got, and love it. But yeah, you'll learn something watching. You can glean from anybody, but when you're looking at good cooks like her, you learn stuff. And she's chefy. I like what she puts out.
So speaking of learning from someone, so I am a big fan of the BBQ Champs Academy. I have bought all the SAA classes. I've had Shauna's, I've had Terry's, I've had them all, and I got yours. And I don't want to pick favorites, but I learned a lot from what you did on that steak cook. I had a class before that, beyond the BBQ Champs Academy, and I agree with you. I think my route, going back to that question we asked earlier, is I think you should take a judging class first, then you should take a class. And these classes that the BBQ Champs Academy classes, they're really in depth. Your class goes into, gosh, man, it's crazy. The stuff that you lay out there. I'm not going to get into it. Obviously, if you guys want to buy it, you can go to BBQChampsAcademy.com and you can buy it. And I just want to say that as someone who's bought the class, who's implemented a lot of the things you did, it is beyond worth the money. It is almost a ripoff. So I would get on that, because I watched it, 100 times. I watched it before the cook on Saturday, and I learned a lot. So, and they do, Mike does such a great job keeping those questions, man. It's crazy. It's almost like he reads my thoughts. I'm like, oh, okay. He just asked that question. So talk about that a little bit. Talk about your class. Talk about how that experience for you.
Well, that's been one of the best experiences I've ever had in the food sport since I've been in it. Mike Steele is second to none. He is a consummate host. I mean, the guy, I asked him finally after it was over with, I said, have you got some TV or radio background? Because he just does a phenomenal job. But Mike put this BBQ Champs, and it's bbqchamps.com if you'd like to go take a look at it. He put this together with BBQ Champs to, number one, help cooks, new cooks. We've all been new cooks, and we all need help when you're a new cook. And so he started it for that reason. But also he started it to promote barbecue and grilling And I'm going to tell you something. He's done an excellent job. And so to me, the BBQ Champs thing is a no-brainer. Number one is because now if I was teaching standalone classes, Rusty, they'd be more than $169, $79. I promise.
Yeah, and that's what I didn't mean rip off when I said rip off. I mean it's a good deal.
It is as great a deal, and I'll even go a little farther than this. They've got a backyard class. It's got 20 recipes. I didn't get to get in on that part of it. I think we've got a second one maybe coming up, but it's got Sterling Smith. It's got Joey Smith, Mark Lambert, Robbie Royal, Lee Hickle, Corey Mikes, tons of these barbecue pitmasters that give you these phenomenal backyard classes in 20 recipes, and you can see them do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, shot in 4K video. You can rewind it. You can fast forward it any day you want to. And it's almost a little of nothing. And I mean, these guys are doing a phenomenal job. Of course, they've all got barbecue classes and grilling classes on bbqchamps.com. On the steak end of it, though, you've got me, my class, Alan Newton. I don't ever get on a show without talking a little bit about Alan Newton. You hear a lot about Johnny Joseph. He was one of the ones that started with the SCA. A legend, whatnot. He sure is, and he's a great guy. But I'm going to tell you, there's another one out there that's a legend in his own right, and that's Alan Newton. And he started right there at the same time. And he's won more than I'll ever win, and probably forgot more than I'll ever remember about steak cooking and grilling. His class is on there. Man, you can glean from someone like that. Shauna Rapallo, which she is phenomenal. Probably one of the winningest women in this sport that you'll ever see. And you know what? I don't even, with this sport, I don't look at if it's a man or woman or whatnot. I mean, she's just a phenomenal cook. She can beat you anytime she goes out. So lots of good folks out there. Of course, Terry Rome's just got his class out there. But all these videos are shot in 4K video. We spent a whole day down there. I do a pork steak ancillary, and I show you how to cook a backyard steak and a competition steak. And they're really, really great videos. They're just shot very respectfully to the pitmaster. Now, of course, the pitmaster can give away whatever he wants to give away. And when I told Mike, I said, if I want to go and do one of these classes, I want to give these folks, if they're going to purchase it, I want to give them something here. And Rusty, you took it, so and you took the others. I think I gave as much or more than anybody would put out there. And I put some secrets out there other people won't put out there. I'll put it that way. And so that's bbqchamps.com. You can find my class and all the other ones. And that was the greatest experience that I've had so far in food sport. Mike Steele, perfect gentleman. Those guys that shot those videos, John and Clint, just done an excellent job. I don't have anything but just praises, great things to say about that whole situation.
Well, we talked about Brad's class, getting based and Tim's class, and I'm in Utah. I had to fly out to Kansas City for that, and that was a $400 flight. That was that was a $550 class. That was a $200 hotel room, and that was food. I mean, up into $1,000 now. And you can take those classes for basically what the class was. And instead of, going, oh, hey, wait, Tim, what was that? I can just go rewind it.
You can go rewind it, because I'm going to tell you over and over and over again. It just depends on how many times you want to rewind it. And I took Travis Clark's class, wonderful class, but I didn't retain anything. I couldn't write fast enough, and I couldn't remember all that. I mean, there's a half a teaspoon of this and a half a tablespoon of that. I just couldn't get it. And with BBQ Champs, you don't have to worry about that. Everything is just right on the money. And of course, the more I've got to know about Mike Steele, I didn't know when I was going to go down there I was going to make that kind of friend out of someone. But when Mike does something, he doesn't go halfway. He goes all the way. And that's what he done with the BBQ Champs. And there's some new pitmasters coming out. I can't really release who they are right now, but when he gets them out there, see. There's some new ones, and they're pretty heavy hitters too. You're going to enjoy seeing who they got.
It's okay. We'll talk about it off air. Just kidding.
Man, I'm telling you what though, the new pitmasters that are getting into the game today, they are so lucky to be able to have resources like that. When I started cooking, I had the barbecue pitmasters trying to take notes to the TV show, some books and a few questions here, and then prior to people before me, they were just all learning it on the fly. So take complete advantage of the new technology for the new cooks out there. Take these digital classes, learn everything you possibly can, and you can go into a competition first time out and probably win if you use some of these guys' techniques.
It's the new wave of learning, and I'm all about that. Now, when I got started, I cooked that first competition, and I didn't know what I was doing. I won. Thank goodness I won. I was thankful that I won and was glad to be a part of it, but I knew I had so much more learning to do. So I went down to Grills of Mississippi there outside of Jackson and took an on-site class by a gentleman named Justin West. And if you know Justin, he's down in Texas. He's a real heavy hitter down there. His team name is Hat Creek Q. And Justin is a phenomenal barbecue cook. He's a great steak cook too. And he kind of put me on the right path. That's where I started, with a class with Justin West. And can't beat him. He did an excellent job. So I kind of learned, what I was picking up from him and how he presented it. He took the time. He put his recipe out there. And I said, if I ever get to a point of doing a class, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to pay it forward. I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do and try to help these new cooks and to be a help and a blessing to folks. And I think we accomplished that with our class at BBQ Champs.
Yeah, and it's important, you guys, to know we're not sponsored by them. We are not in any way affiliated with them whatsoever. I'm just a huge fan. And I got to say, I've taken all of them. I don't think I have ties. That's the only one I don't have. And you learn something from all of them. There's just little techniques in every single one you can learn. I learned the most from yours. Yours is very in depth. It's funny because yours is so in depth. And then there's Terry who's like, just throw it on the thing. It's just like, he does a lot of cool stuff too, but it's funny, the different techniques that you guys have and different ways of doing things.
One of the things
I highly suggested that.
I have a lot of attention to detail in everything that I do. And I probably go a little bit of overkill sometimes, but I think it gives me an edge on some of that stuff. But you just hit on something that's kind of important. You didn't just take one class. These things were so economical that you were able to take multiple classes and glean from all the pitmasters and get this. Just like I said a few minutes ago, this whole thing is about technique. And you pick up those techniques, and when you put them all in one package, you have a winning situation. And so yeah, you did the right thing, man. And
as far as the steak goes,
taking mine.
Yeah, as far as the steak goes, I've bought 4, and I'm still less than my trip to see getting basted. And still less.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I really enjoy about experienced pitmasters nowadays too. They're willing to share. We talked to Herry Soo on the podcast, and he's hit this point in his career where he's like, I'm done competing. I've been there. I've the beginning with the middle stage, and then I can't remember exactly later. He's in the teaching stage now. Right. He just wants to teach good barbecue, and that's awesome. That was really hard to find 10 years ago. I couldn't find anybody to teach me how to cook a steak, and my life depended on it.
No.
I didn't need to. I had Worcestershire in a bag.
I had a gentleman that, and of course I won't call any names, but I had a gentleman when I was first starting that first year that I asked a question about, hey, give me something on some doneness. And they gave me some wrong information. And I found out that they did that, and I feel like it was on purpose. I was just a new cook. I wasn't in any danger of hurting his cook or anything about it. And I want to tell you something, guys. I said right then and there, after I figured all that out, I said, if I ever get to a point that I can help a new cook or help somebody, be a blessing some way, somehow, I was going to do that. And you know what? I've done that, and I'm thankful I can do it. And again, thank you guys Rusty, for taking the class, and I'm glad you enjoyed it, sir.
I loved it, man. I also took the class, and at the time I took it, it was like I bought it the day it came out. And you had just started promoting your line of your steak shake. It hadn't come out yet. I feel like I was one of the first to buy it. So I got it, And I was like, I buy a lot of seasonings, and I do. I mean, I can show you my pantry right now, and I have to hide them from the wife sometimes, just like, no, I don't know. What is that? Who brought that? It must have been a Christmas present. So, and I try a lot. So I bought it, I'm going to try it out. And on my steak, I used to use White Lightning, and I just tried it, and it was mind blowing. So it's very buttery. I know you said it was balanced, but I get a lot of butter out of it. It's a really good seasoning. And so just tell us how that came about. Where did your seasoning come up?
Well, I've been using Steak Shake, even to the point of making up a salt and pepper and garlic and onion rub like we talked about, Anthony, just a few minutes ago. But I was taking it a little bit farther. When I was cooking competition barbecue, I'd mix up this rub, and I would get butter buds and put in and mix other things into those rubs that other people wasn't doing. The people were putting butter on ribs. I'm thinking, well, let me put this granulated butter in here. Let's see what it does. So I had my seasonings. My brisket seasoning is my big red beef rub. It's the same rub that the last year I cooked KCBS with, that I had 11 out of 12 top 10 calls in my brisket. It's same rub, same deal. That was formulated in my kitchen at home. And we've got a new barbecue rub that's come out. That's the same thing I put on those ribs that we won at International Goat Days and the King Biscuit Blues Festival in Helena. When we won those first places on ribs, that barbecue rub went on those. These are rubs that I have used, that I have tried. They're tested and true. The Steak Shake is a base layer. That's what it's designed. It's not designed to be a one-shot wonder. It's designed as the base layer rub. It's a dry brine, dry marinade style rub. You put it on first. You let it set, brings the water top just a little bit, then go in there and put your other rubs on top of it. And it's not overly salty. It's a base rub, and it's made to layer flavors with. That's what it does best. That's its wheelhouse. The big red beef is going to be my best seller more than likely. It's the little more flashy rub. It's a beefy rub. It's got the right color. It's got the right flavors. It enhances the beef flavor. It's to me, that's my best. It's a rub that will be the hit, I think, more than any. And then I've got a rub called the Go-To Barbecue Rub, and it's a sweet heat rub. Just a real well-balanced sweet heat rub. You can layer any of that over top of Steak Shake. But if I was going to pick one of those, it would be the Steak Shake, because here's the thing. You can take your flavor profile you're using, add in the Steak Shake to let it do what it does, and it will fit right in with everything you guys are doing. It will not offend anything, and it will enhance and give an extra punch. And I tell you what, that Steak Shake is good right on the end of it too, right before you take it off the grill, put you a little bit on there. It just does a great job for the backyard cook and the competition cook. That's where these rubs were designed. And that's what we're winning with day in and day out.
Well, I know what I'm buying then. I just can't get over that. Literally, I was talking to my wife. My wife, she's my best taster, because she hates everything, kind of like Rusty's wife in a way. She'll tell you straight up it's good or it's bad. There's no middle ground. But she's like, something's missing. And I told her, I was like, it's the savory. I'm missing. I got to find that savory. And so maybe this might be what's going to take me over the top and beat Rusty next month. So.
Well, like I said, I switched it out for my White Lightning. White Lightning is good. It's a really good rub. I mean, it's great. But there's just a little bit more. Say you get it in your hand, right? I'm a big fan of just rubs. I'll put it in my hand and I'll pop it in my mouth, and I'll just walk by. If it's out on the counter, I'm using at least a tablespoon in 2 days. Just pop it in my mouth. And it's good. But when you have yours, there's just more to it. It's like, oh, this is good. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay. And there's just a lot more balance and different flavors. You're right. It's a base rub, but I have used it alone on a steak in the backyard, and it's great. So just by itself too.
Nice. The difference between my rubs and some of the others, Townsend Spice Company in Melbourne, Arkansas, they mix my rubs. They're a very famous spice company. They mix rubs for all kinds of people, big names. But I will tell you this, there's rubs out there that have 5 and 6 ingredients in a rub. My Big Red Beef has 23 ingredients in it. It's a complex rub that you can taste it in the flavor.
Can you run that back one more time? You glitched.
Yeah.
You glitched there. How many rubs?
I said the Big Red Beef has 23 ingredients in it.
Wow.
23. A lot of your regular barbecue rubs have 5 to 7 ingredients. The Big Red Beef has 23 ingredients, and you can tell it's a complex rub. You can tell when you taste it. The Steak Shake has almost 20 ingredients in it. So now, to me, I don't like sweet on steak. Okay, I don't like sweet on beef. I just don't. I like a savory flavor, and that's my palate. That's what I like. When I'm trying to get a balanced steak flavor. Now, if I'm cooking ribs, hey, I like that hint of sweet, but I don't like sweet on beef. I want it to be a savory rub. It's what we designed here. And so the Steak Shake may really help you, Anthony, get some of that savory flavor in.
Well, I use it currently in my lineup, so you're going to have to. I'm
going to have to step it up. Hey, so who did you say mixes those up again? What's the name of the company?
Townsend Spice Company in Melbourne, Arkansas. They're my co-packer. Lawson and Shane Lynn. Most of your viewers will know. A lot of them will know who they are. They're excellent guys.
I listened to Malcolm Reeves How to Barbecue Right, and he had them on there. And if you can go back and listen to that show, people, they break it down on their quality of ingredients. Like they are 110% passionate about what goes into their products. They'll throw a batch of garlic out if it doesn't taste right.
That's right.
Like literally, like so.
Well, they're great people too. If you're going to do business with folks, I want to do business with people that are like-minded with me. And Shane and Lawson Lynn and their crew up there, second to none. They're great people.
So we went over some rubs that you have. Do you have anything else in the mix?
Rub wise?
Yes, I've got seasoning and rub wise.
I've got a sauce that we're trying to get out to market. This first one, it's great competition sauce, but it's more geared. When you're selling to competition cooks, you're really limiting yourself. You need to be able to reach across that aisle to your backyard people too, because backyard folks are the ones that will pay the bills with your rubs. If Sweet Baby Ray's, for instance, at the grocery store, I've had lots of better barbecue sauces, but that Sweet Baby Ray's is just a good balanced sauce, and consumers love it. I'm looking at a sauce that I'm looking at actually 3. I'm looking at a couple of competition sauces that are like a competition sweet sauce, a vinegar sauce, and just a regular backyard sauce. And I've got the backyard that maybe probably going to come out first. Also looking at I'll go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. We're working on the all queued up steak soak, and it's a marinade. There's some others on the market that are really, really good. It's not made to replace them or anything, but for what we do, I've been tinkering with that, and it's really we're trying to develop that now. So we'll just see how that comes out. But right now we've got the 3 rubs and a sauce that's getting ready to come out, and man, we've enjoyed developing those things. We're going to see how good those go and what we do with them. They've been successful so far, and it's a saturated market, guys. Everybody's got a rub. I met 3 or 4 people this weekend that's putting rubs out. I don't know how you separate yourself in an area like that, other than you just get out and promote them and outwork them and just go cook for folks and get it in people's hands and have a good product. That's about all you can do.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, though. You need to hit that backyard average style barbecue sauce, because how many times have you gone and got a 20-piece from McDonald's and you're like, man, they didn't give me enough sauce. Right. You go to Sweet Baby Ray's that's in your fridge. Like, I've tried Blues Hogs on my McNuggets or whatever, and it's not good. Sweet Baby Ray's is.
Yeah.
What are you putting Blues Hog on your McNuggets for? That's an expensive condiment, sir.
I just had it available and I try it.
I just put my caviar on my fries today. Yes.
Well, you know what I mean. Come on, Rusty. You never had chicken McNuggets with.
I don't do sauce, man. I really don't. I don't do sauce.
Boy, I'm gonna tell you, you go down in Texas and some of those areas, and they've got the best barbecue that you can get, and just smoke and salt and pepper. It just, hey, there's nothing like it. But
that's my jam.
Yeah, certain times I want some barbecue sauce, and when I do, I've got a real good backyard barbecue sauce that I've been using, and we're going to get it bottled and we're going to get it going. So cool. That's our next step. So that one will be coming up next.
Well, awesome, John. Where can everyone find you and where are these sauces at? And what are the seasonings, I should say?
Well, the seasonings are just getting ready. Here's the deal. The steak shake's been out for a little while. Of course, we've only had the one, so I haven't really promoted it that hard. I'm in about 25 stores. I'm still trying to get in some more. We've got stores in Florida, and I've got a whole list of those. I hate to go to mentioning them all because I don't have them, but if you will go to my Facebook page, I'll have a list of those on my Facebook. And please, if any of your viewers would love to find me on Facebook, send me a friend request. I'd just love for you to be a part of our Facebook group. Also, we've got a Facebook Live show. That's where you were at last night with us on Arca Sippy Smoke Live. Me and Ronald Burns, he's the Sippy and I'm the Arca. And Ronald has a full line of rubs. The Hottie Toddy, we call him Mr. Hottie Toddy. And he's an excellent barbecue cook for years. Won no telling how many contests and awards but he's really hitting hard in this steak cooking thing now. And so he's got a full line of rubs. Actually, were either one of you down to Shed Showdown Cookoff in Florida?
No, but I will not miss another. I will not miss one going forward.
Well, Ronald, Ronald won first place down there with his new Climax rub, some of his seasonings. And there was another group there that won first place using his very rubs, Brian and Leanne Caruso. And so his rubs have been proven too. So I guess what I'm saying is me and him make a pretty good team, and we interview people. It's not all about steak cooking. It has been so far, but it won't always be. We have a YouTube channel coming out, Arca Sippy Smoke Live, and we've got our Facebook show right now because of the COVID-19 and all the stuff that's going on there. It's Monday nights at 7:30 Central Time now. So Monday night, 7:30 Central. Hope some of your viewers will join us. We'd love to have them, but that's kind of what we have going on to promote our stuff. And again, you can find a list of the stores that carry my rub on my Facebook page. Please friend me. I'd love to have you guys on there with me.
Yeah, I love watching that show. I don't miss it. It's great. I sometimes have to catch it the next day, but I always catch it. But it's really cool to have both you guys on. Very good steak cooks. I mean, you had Terry Roan, but you guys, it's really cool information. It's good talk. It's news. It's everything. And a lot of people get on Facebook Live and they just kind of, chat. You guys get down to business and you guys have a little bit of everything. So it's just a fun conversation that you learn a lot from. So if anyone's listening to this right now, go on that Facebook page, go get John Lindsey, friend him up, and then find that page because it's a lot of fun.
We had Brett Galloway on there a couple of weeks ago, and Damon Holter. You guys probably know Damon. He won that virtual burger cook-off for the SCA. Have lots of folks on there, and please join us. And we're going to share the Pitmasters podcast on our Facebook, and we'll try to get you some folks showing up from our side of the world down to yours too. So it's awesome. We appreciate that.
Well, hey man, we do appreciate you taking the time out to come talk to us. I'm a big fan of yours, and it's been really an honor for me and Anthony to talk to you and kind of pick your brain a bit. So we really appreciate your time.
Man, it's been my honor and pleasure. Thank you guys for having me on, and best of luck. And y'all guys just keep cooking. Okay.
All right. Thanks, man. Have a good one.
Yes, sir.